the Great Shaders War. What is it and how did it all start? And how will it all end? So, first up, let's talk about the lighting. As you can see in this scene, we are using zeal shaders. Pretty nice. I mean, you can't really see outside, but if you normally just effect toggle it, you really can't see outside anyways. Now, let's try and see how extravi shaders look. Whoa, now you might be asking, what happened? Well, these are extravi shaders, and you might be asking, why is it so dark? Well, here's the thing. I love extravi shaders. They look really cool, but they're for more light tones. You see, I can't really see much in here. I can see some reflections, but that's mainly the ambient occlusion. Now, let's see what happens if we switch back over to zeals. And as you can see, well, it's a lot less dark. Now you might be asking why, and that's mainly because of the strength of color correction and other stuff in Extravage shaders. You can test this out on your own just by going to this game. I'll have all the games linked in the description. But for a lighting test, I think Extravage shaders would look a lot better in a type of game that was a little bit more brighter. Now you might be saying it's still a bit dark. That's mainly because, well, these are extravi shaders, and it is having the sun go down right now, but you can still tell it works a lot better in a bit more brighter games, you know? And it's hard to see because I don't know many good-looking bright games, and I think that's one main problem with extravi shaders. The good thing is, you won't really notice this if you're playing like a normal game, but I will say something. I do not like this effect. It's just a little bit too much, you know? Having to move your mouse cursor on where you want to focus. It's kind of cool, but at the same time, it just makes it hard to look around and stuff. And I feel like it's too much focusing just for, you know, a normal gameplay, like say playing Arsenal or something. I'll make up my final verdict in the end for which shader is better, but I think if you're just trying to have normal use of a shader that isn't too crazy, I think probably Zeals works best. I wouldn't say it's the coolest shader, but for just a normal shader that you could use for everyday use, I definitely think it's cool. But if you need a really cinematic experience, I think Extravi probably does it best. Here's a full daylight shot with Extravi shader. Now here's Rose Shade Ultra. Now, I won't be using the max version of Rose Shade, mainly because the reflections are just tad bit much, but you can still see this works really good for normal use, where you're not trying to have everything look like a freaking mirror. Now you might be asking, how is this battle gonna end? Who's gonna win? Well, I'll tell you right now. Well, it really does depend on what use you're gonna use these shaders for. I really feel Extravies is probably best for cinematics than other stuff in Roblox, where you'd kind of want it to look like a Blender GFX. But you shouldn't say Zeal's shaders are bad just because they're not as crazy in detail. I mean, it really comes down to what use you're going to use them for. If you're in a pretty dark game, I do not suggest Extravi. It's cinematic, but it reflects terrain because the reflections are a tad bit much, and well, it just doesn't look good in the dark, you know? Now Zeal's, it's a lot brighter, you know? I mean, I really feel like it adds just a tad bit more lighting to the situation, and it doesn't have as harsh light, but more natural light. I mean, you can see with this amazing comparison, off and on, it really isn't that bad with these shaders. There might be some memes about Zeal's shaders not being as good as Extravi's, or Extravi's not being as good as Zeal's, but it really does come down to the use. But if I had to decide which shader I would use, I mean, it has to be probably, I'm going to say Zeal. And the reason why is because his shader just adds a lot more to the situation. There's a lot more details and little parts that you'd probably find, like terrain not reflecting, while other parts do reflect. And I feel like that's just a really important detail about his shaders. At the end of the day, it really does come down to the use. If you have a really harsh lighting scene, and it's pretty bright though, I really feel that Extravi's does work best. You can really see all the details, and it really has more shadows, ray tracing. Well, not ray tracing, but screen space reflections look amazing. And I just feel like his shaders are so cinematic to the point where it's almost a bit scary. But if I have to use any shader, I would still use Zeal, because it's just too much ease for it, you know? Instead of being extremely detailed, or, well, it's still extremely detailed, but I just feel it's better for your CPU and some other stuff if you're just trying to get some normal use. But you can definitely tell the difference between the shaders. I really don't think anyone should say Zeal's shaders are like if nothing changed. There's a huge difference, as you can see, and I don't think extravi should be too much. I just feel that they're using in different places. At the end of the day, don't trust my word, try them out for yourself. They'll all be linked in the description. But if you really just need a nice normal shader for recording videos or making little screenshots for your TikToks, I think the best shader you could get is Zeal's because of the nice use that's not too extreme. I mean, you've seen the lighting things, and I just want to say, if you guys are watching the video, thank you for watching, and if Extravi and Zeal is watching the video, your shaders are pretty amazing. I would love to make these shaders one day, but all comes down to my ability to learn with shaders and stuff. But yeah, if you guys enjoyed the video, I would really appreciate a like. It's been a bit hard to record this because of the amount of cuts. I don't even want to talk about how much I've said stuff, and it's just messed up. But yeah, thank you for watching. Zeal, Extravi, your shaders are amazing. I don't think any of you should be discredited, as all of your shaders are amazing. And whoever wins the shader battle, GG. Goodbye.
Here we go, off the rails. Don't you know it's time to raise our sails? It's freedom like